You're listening.
I just don't care.
No one is ever kidding Michael Cole.
Of course he can roll a grudge forever. This is wrestling.
Welcome back to This Is a Work. My name is David Hensley, and I am here to introduce the soothing ambient sound of rain and your brand new host, Robert Three Dogs Brafford.
Thank you, David. Before I move ahead with introducing my co-host, Three Dogs, we're going with that?
I don't know. I just wanted to piss off Two Dogs.
Feels like a three-dog night.
Yeah. Dogs abandoned this child that we helped create, like leaving an orphan on the steps of a church. So I decided you've got one dog more than him. We can discuss nicknames later.
Yeah, when we're done here, we can walk 50 feet to the left and, vandalize his house or something.
That works for me.
All right. Well, I am indeed Robert, nickname TBD Brafford, hosting this podcast under Freebird rules with Chris, still the Flashin' Plate, Barnes. Yes, the Flashin' Plate. I'm adding my own little flair on everything here.
One that's not my name, too. Dogs, you sound different tonight.
I've been working on my impression of him, but figured that'd be a little too much to hold on to for the, what do you think, 2.5 hours we're gonna make David sit here?
I hope to God not. I provided you guys with your own monitor with the time on it, so
we can see it just whiz by as we keep talking.
It's a magnificent piece of producer passive aggression. We'll be ignoring it as we go.
Sounds good. That sounds about the
You don't have to worry about Mr. McHensley over here.
All right, well, we are here to talk about AEW Double or Nothing, their 2023 event, the fourth one of these they performed. Let's see, was in Las Vegas, which I believe is the same place that all of those events have been performed.
Usually, yeah.
So, good show overall, ready to get to talking about it. I just want to introduce my own little flair. Anyone who listened to the last This Is a Takeover, I mentioned this as sort of a little thing of mine. I'm someone who enjoys a good whiskey, a good liquor in general, but I'm especially fond of bourbons and scotches. So for every one of these I do, I'm going to just pick out a beverage to enjoy both during the show and during the recording, create a spirit of continuity, if you will. This one, because one of the, I hate saying this, double main events of this evening was a Four Pillars match for the AEW title. I selected a Four Roses single barrel Kentucky straight bourbon. So it's a nice variant on the Four Roses blend.
And I thank you for sharing it with me, Robert, as always. Cheers to your new job as host of this show.
Thank you very much. All right, so...
I drink nothing by nobody. Let's do this.
Yes, indeed. All right, so starting the show off, let's see, not really much to talk about on the pre-show. Thankfully, AEW doesn't tend to make these things into 2-hour affairs. It was just sort of a little talk-up, one match, and then they started the entrances. The only thing really before the pre-show match that I noted was that it's sort of a four-person panel with Renee Paquette, Stokely Hathaway, and Paul White, and somebody was definitely having a lot of fun putting Stokely Hathaway next to Paul White.
No. And they also didn't have them seated at a table, so you knew this wasn't going to take too long.
Yeah,
it's like they know that having to listen to that for too long is boring and stupid.
Yep. Cut away to Arn Anderson, soothing us with his dulcet, probably armed threats about his match later on. And then, so the opening match, the pre-show, was Ethan Page and the Guns, that's Colton and Austin, versus the Hardys, Matt and Jeff, and Hook.
Hey, Jeff's back.
Yeah, let's see how long that lasts. I feel uncomfortable watching him. I feel uncomfortable seeing him on TV. He's just got the face of somebody who's been through so much, and I feel like we've got a long chain of evidence that this is not something that's good for him. It just feels uncomfortable to watch on a lot of levels. Like with Matt, it's just the uncomfortable of, this man can't bend his knees. But with Jeff, I'm like, I really don't know that he should be here.
I've got nothing to add to that because there's nothing really There's no new ground to tread on that.
There isn't. It's sad because when I started watching wrestling in the late '90s, it was right when the Hardy Boys were kind of on their big tear, and then WWF. And I'm from North Carolina. They were from North Carolina. They just I don't know. It was a tag team that I kind of cottoned on to, and yeah, it's just kind of sad to see them hit this point in their career. Even if I enjoyed everybody else in the match, I thought it's good to see Hook on a pay-per-view, and the Guns were just in like peak form. They were bouncing around that ring. Just every time one of them took a bump or a hit, like they'd just cartwheel out of the ring. So, I mean, what I enjoyed about this match was pretty much just watching Hook and then Colton and Austin. How about you?
It was a good match overall. And yeah, you're right. No, the Guns look incredible, and they were in that ring proving why they're there.
Yeah, it was a little controversial that they had the tag belts for a little while before losing them to FTR, but I think they'd put in the work.
That was how they eased them off of the Acclaimed, so that FTR could have them.
Yeah, but even as like one of those kind of intermediary teams, I thought they did well by their run, and I'm glad we haven't seen the last of them. Not much that was super notable in there. There was one bit where Jeff went up for the Whisper in the Willows, and just his left foot completely missed the rope.
Supposedly he was selling an ankle thing, from what I heard.
I wish I could.
But then he completely forgot to keep selling it, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
He just slipped and fell off the turnbuckle.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I know this is the nature of kayfabe, but I don't know. An intentional screw up still looks like a screw up in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean it does, and it would be more forgiving if he was like I said, paying attention. That's what makes you think it's not something that looks like it's a part of him is being worked. Is you quit paying attention to it, and it's like, well, okay, so you just fucked up. All right.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like the opposite of whenever Bryan Danielson has a match and his opponent starts working his neck, or he takes a really nasty looking bump to like his upper body, and he'll just twitch for a moment, and there's just going to be that second where we're all like, oh my gosh, did it finally happen?
Oh, sure.
But that's working the story, and we all know that.
And there's nothing he loves more than freaking people out with that kind of stuff.
It really isn't. But yeah, so let's see. Match ends with let's see. Ethan Page. Oh, right. I almost forgot to mention it. The stipulation on this match is that if the Hardys and Hook win, then Matt Page owns Ethan Page's contract. This is one of those wrestling matches where a human being is on the line.
Oh, fun.
Didn't think that was legal in this country, but
well, famously, Dominic's parentage was decided in a ladder match. So.
True, a long and glorious tradition, and it continues tonight as...
Look, that's the rule of wrestling. You settle everything in the ring. It's like, even if it's something that should be immediately handled by police or the courts, you just tie something to a pole or suspend it from the roof, and you say fight over it. Whoever gets it first has it.
It's like the Purge. All other laws are suspended until this has been resolved through men throwing each other around in tights. Mm-hmm. I say with great affection. All right, so let's see. That one, ends with Ethan taking a twist of fate from each Hardy, and then Hook locks him in the red rum, makes him tap out.
Taz mission. It's always going to be Taz mission to me.
Yeah, I know. If he looked more like his dad, he could maybe get away with it, but it's still one of those things where I'm just like, one man has a neck, the other does not. How? I don't know.
Well, you can tell which genes came from which parent in a lot of places.
I actually don't know what Taz's wife looks like, but I have to imagine there's a lot of like blanks being filled in there.
Like the Jurassic Park DNA.
Exactly. Yes, she is the frog that they had to put into the T-Rex of Taz. This metaphor is going weird places. I'm gonna slide on from that one. But yeah, so I gave that 2 Meltzers. I'm going to continue the Meltzer rating system, though I do have my own way of calculating it. Dogs allegedly had a way of doing this through numbers, but I
doubt this. I still don't believe it.
And I've seen the spreadsheets. I don't know that I believe it.
Dogs' metric system made no sense to anyone but him.
Well, here's the thing. He would loudly announce what number he thought the match should be, and then adjust it based on how he felt. There's no hard math to this.
famously, as it has been pointed out many times before, he has been known to say, this is an amazing match. I loved every second of it. It was perfect on everybody's part. I gave it a 2.5.
So, if you don't mind, actually, I was going to break down my my scoring system real quick, just because I think that might help listeners kind of get a sense of where I come at this from, just as a fan and what I look for in a wrestling match. I just scored across four categories, which is storytelling, how the match worked bell to bell.
Mm-hmm.
Why did it start when it did? Why did it end when it did? What were the through lines? Was someone selling an injury? All that. There's angle. It's why do we care about this story? Why is this match happening? When it ends, what's coming next? Is this the end of a feud? Did a run-in cause something new? How excited am I to see the next chapter for these people? There's execution, which is just essentially how's the technique? Are these guys landing their moves, communicating well, good pace? And then finally there's pop. Now pop, I will admit, is just kind of the question mark category. That's what I can use to kind of move scores up or down as I feel like it. What connects with the crowd? What are the big moments? What's something so insane or unbelievable that just hooks everybody in? So I give every one of those a rating from 0 to 5, average that out, and that's my match score.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't believe in negative scores. A 0 is a match that just fundamentally fails at storytelling. So 5's the highest, 0 is the lowest.
You say that, but now I'm looking forward to the day we watch something so terrible you go negative.
I'll be just staring at the spreadsheet, just like trying to figure out. I'm like, there's got to be some way that Google Sheets will let me do this.
Royal Rumble 2018.
That was a time. That was a time. Brock Lesnar and I are cool now. We've made peace. I've come to accept him as a wrestler, and he does not know or give a crap who I am. So it's a good arrangement.
Yeah, no, that sums it up.
All right, so yeah, like I said, 2 Meltzers for the pre-show match. Solid, nothing remarkable, but apart from just kind of the general questionable feeling I get seeing Jeff Hardy competing after all of his issues, it's still a fun time.
I feel like to Matt's detriment, he's pulled back into this, despite the fact that I understand why, because it's like he was slowing down, he was doing something different, and then, when Jeff jumped ship, it was, he said he was going to, Matt, I think, has said he's going to end it as a Hardy Boy with Jeff. So, yeah.
Well, we'll see where that goes. All right, let's see. Not much else on the pre-show. Oh, they had a little announcement for the upcoming Owen Hart tournament.
Yes, they did.
And they are continuing this weird tradition where the winner gets both a trophy and a belt. But
is it both?
It looked like both, because I remember.
I know they have the weird belts.
Yeah. Which last year was Adam Cole and Britt Baker won. I think they wore for like a week, and then
yep, they haven't seen them got since. A his and hers.
Yeah, watching that with Gina, she was really convinced that Cole was about to propose there. I was like, yeah, if you got your moments, that's wouldn't have been a bad one.
Well, what's a ring gonna be in that situation? You've already got giant belts.
Let's see. Yeah, so then I think right from there they go to starting. I actually like this a lot. They do the entrances for the Battle Royal. That's the opening match for the main pay-per-view. The
Blackjack Battle Royal. Yeah, they spent the last 10 minutes of the pre-show. Also, it's smart because it gets them out of the way, and it also entices people to be like, hey, if you haven't bought it yet, you can purchase the paper.
Yeah, just getting to watch everybody come in, and it's they had a great lineup for this Battle Royal.
They had a wild bunch for the international title.
It was really interesting, actually, because even though it's a singles title, I think pretty much everybody in there was there as part of a faction.
Yes.
I was looking over the list that we had, and I don't think there was anybody in there who's not
I think that was also a time saver, because it was like, since there were so many people who were also part of a team or a faction, it was like, just send them in together at once.
Yeah, and probably, but for entrances and then just during the match itself, which we can get into in a second, but just a very straightforward of like, all right, so it's these 3 against these 4, and then these 2 against that 3, and so let's see, just moving into it. So 21-man Blackjack Battle Royal.
And they also did something smart where they had at least half of the people outside the ring fighting first.
Yeah.
So that there was enough space in the ring so people could start getting off their spots and work through their stuff, and then work their way into the ring and out.
That was really fun, especially with some people being kind of strategic about when they entered. I think it was Commander, one of the Lucha guys, he had a great spot where he ran across the ropes from post to post and then does like I want to say it was a
dive onto somebody.
Yeah, I think it was like just a flip, just like a senton onto the outside.
But he hadn't gotten in the ring yet, so he was still active.
And so we were all sort of like, did that just... And no, it turned out that I guess you have to like... Your whole body has to break the plane of the ropes.
Feet have to touch the inside of the ring, I think.
There we go.
I imagine it will work the same way going out does. Both feet have to touch.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you had, I think, Swerve was just kind of staying up on the ramp, just kind of watching everything from a distance for a little while.
Didn't try to fight, didn't interact with it, just waiting for everyone to tire themselves out.
Yeah. And again, it's a classic, like, cowardly heel move, but it just looks so cool when he does it. Overall, this was a fantastic battle royal. It was just a great start to the show, I thought. Like I said, I loved all the Lucha guys in there. You just have guys who
it was great. They teamed up and started taking on people.
Yeah, just the thing about that is it's like a constitutional inability not to go up to the top corner or over the ropes or something, which is a terrible idea in an over-the-top rope battle royal, but I think in their defense, only like half of them got eliminated when somebody like kicked them off the ropes or shoved them off a turnbuckle.
Yeah, pointedly, there was only like I think 1 or 2 eliminations where it was like they made a move for the top rope and they paid for it.
But it was just really great to see showing off. Like Bandito got to do that sort of hanging suplex that he does, where he just I swear he starts with them like as less than halfway up just because he can, so he just can show like the audience him powering them all the way up. It's just crazy.
Yeah, Bandito is someone who has the look and the moves. He looks cool and is cool.
I'm okay with how this match came out, but I would love to see one of the guys who came up from AAA end up with this international title, or like the TNT or the world title down the road. But I think the only thing complicating that is the fact that certain companies don't work with NJPW. Yeah.
So I think if they wanted the international title at Forbidden Door, that certain people couldn't win.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I don't know the exact details, but I think that kind of narrowed the field on a couple of guys at least. Yeah,
it's always. I think we've gotten so spoiled by just the number and variety of promotions that have lent performers to AEW that it's easy to forget there are still politics and egos and all these other things that have to be navigated.
We have been spoiled. It's the WCW undercard on steroids.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, this is one of those things where I'm just like frantically trying to note down all these spots as they happen. So
there's a lot to try and remember. I mean, honestly, it's just worth seeing the replay.
It is, and it does that great thing that like when you've got so much of your roster involved in this match, it's just a great time to be like, here's a quick snippet of this feud that like Dustin Rhodes and Keith Lee are having with Swerve and his associates, or Ricky Starks against Juice Robinson and Jay White. Just you can do like snapshots of all of these while these guys just have here's a spot or two to just show off what they're capable of.
That's the best thing. That's the best thing about modern battle royals. It's just it's like again. You're right. It's like a mashup. It's like everybody is fighting all at once, but then again, he's like here's this feud weaving itself further, and then this one, and then this one.
Yeah.
And then here comes somebody doing something really cool.
There was more than enough. There was like I think Big Bill, formerly Big Cass. I think he got a real chance to show off because he hasn't really.
I mean, not only just overall because they let him be one of the final 4 too. Yeah. So they clearly have big ideas for him.
I didn't count carefully, but I think he probably had the highest elimination total. I feel like I saw him take out at least 4, but it could have been more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great showing by him. Let's see. Kind of one of the big through lines was Keith Lee and Swerve, because eventually Swerve does get in the ring and keeps trying to kind of ambush him from behind, and eventually that's how Keith Lee goes out, as he's trying to get Swerve over the top, and then Brian Cage is able to get him out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Yeah, wow, I just was trying to write down spot. But anyway, so it all comes down to the final 4 of this one. It's Big Bill, Swerve Strickland, Penta, and the champion himself, Orange Cassidy.
Yep.
Last 4. And so Penta goes up pretty quickly after an exchange with Big Bill. And then a little bit later, Swerve does the, oh, no, I'll step back. You got him. And then immediately eliminates
the immediate
Bill
betrayal,
when he turns.
Well, they were working together, and then I almost said Big Bill started, mouthing off with Swerve, and it was funny because they both were they made some nice faces to the hard camera. It was like, ooh, big man type of thing. And then like right as Bill started doing it, that's when he betrayed him.
Yeah. And then you've got your final two, and sometimes this is something where it's just like, all right, quick flurry, and then one guy's eliminated in 5 seconds. Mm-hmm. And other times, like with I think it was Cody Rhodes and Gunther at the Rumble, you have like a whole separate match at the very end of it. And here I thought they just had, because both guys had to be really exhausted, but they had a really intense like back and forth that went on for a while.
They did, yeah. I think what helped is I know there was they had a good chunk of time where they were off in the corner.
Yeah.
It was Swerve had Cassidy off in the corner so that they could probably save up for it.
Oh, yeah. There were definitely a couple of... And granted, the nice thing about being Orange Cassidy is nobody ever questions if you're just like lying down doing nothing in the corner during a battle royal. At one point, Cassidy's looking pretty beat up, and Swerve decides to take the extra step of taking...
To mock him, yes.
Yeah, and taking his own hands and putting them in his own pockets, which I think it was... You were saying it in the room.
I was like, no, that powers him up.
Yeah, you've unlocked his final level. And so, yeah, he does he counters an elimination into a DDT with his hands still in his pockets. They fight to the outside. And then there's just... Again... I never get tired of how Orange Cassidy, every big moment of his match is something you see and you're just like, yeah, only this guy could do that. In this case, it's when Swerve is like, he tries to stomp off the rope, lands on the apron, he's swaying, he's got one hand on the ropes, and Cassidy does the laziest kick just to his wrist, just tapping it to break his grip and send him falling backwards.
And I don't know if it was you or I think it might have been you who just mentioned how Looney Tunes it was. Yeah. Well, either you or Dave, because I remember because it was just it's just like this.
It's very much though like his wrists are just like flailing as he tries to grab for the rope that's falling away from him. It was oh my gosh, such a great elimination. Just overall, yeah, loved that match. Great opening. Seemed like it really fired up the crowd. I gave it 4.5. Yeah, just across the board. I honestly did not think Cassidy was going to hold on to the belt there. I thought that, because he's had just an insane run of title defenses, I thought this might be the time. But no, it's like he's going to hold on to it through Forbidden Door.
It's matches like this that I watch that make me feel like at a different time or in a different life, I might have been as much of a fan of this sport as the two of you are. Mm-hmm. But I'll watch Orange Cassidy, I'll watch Swerve, I'll watch these great matches, and then like we'll go and watch WWE, and I'll be like, oh, here we go again. Give me more Orange Cassidy and less Roman Reigns, and I think I could be a legitimate wrestling fan.
Did you know there are people who believe the exact opposite as you do?
I'm certain of that.
I see so many of them on Twitter, and they disgust me.
Well, that's your first mistake, is being on Twitter.
It's not the last one I'll make.
The number of people who are treating Roman Reigns reaching 1,000 days, holding a title in a fixed sport. Come on, guys, let's be real about what this is.
I ranted about this.
It's just like, okay, this is an achievement he had because a guy in a room with pen and paper decided it. Like, this does not make him one of the all-time greats.
Also, in this day and age, with no territories, no travel, and the fact that we see there's like two specific shows and plus other appearances he makes a week. I ranted about this before. It's like the number's meaningless. It doesn't matter anymore. We're not in an era where he goes from town to town defending the belt, and he has to keep it on him so that word of mouth can get out about how good a champion he is. He's been on TV the whole time.
And what do those 1,000 and whatever days mean if he hasn't wrestled for 900 and something of them?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
I think Orange Cassidy in the time he's had the international title has actually defended it more time than Roman Reigns has. I don't know the exact side-by-side numbers, but
he absolutely has.
Because he won it in early this year, early 2023. Yeah, and he's had something like 22, 23 title defenses at this point.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Is like Roman was only ever guaranteed to be wrestling at a pay-per-view. So that's at least, putting the title on the line.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I did not mean to turn this into a Roman Reigns rant.
No, it's a good point to bring up.
Yeah.
It really is. Because, that number means nothing. It's just another accolade they've tacked onto him that doesn't mean shit to me.
And it's ultimately why I'm still, even as AEW's, I think, hitting some growing pains right now, while I'm still seeing them as just kind of of what's needed in wrestling right now, because it feels like it's built around taking talent and finding it and putting it on a stage and enhancing it, rather than the WWE mode of taking everything, fitting it into our mold, and then serving it up in the way that we will tell people to accept.
I also need to point out that that number is also extra stupid, because when they showed off the list, when he finally achieved 1,000 days of the people he was also up there with, pretty much everyone else on that list was a face. They were holding on to that title for so long because of the setup of the regions and the territories, and on top of that, they were faces. So the whole attraction for them was to face all comers and win, and retain. He's a heel. The whole point of him having a title to hold on to and retain is so that to build up for his loss.
Yeah, like he is there and he succeeds so that you can cheer when somebody beats him.
Yes.
That's how he exists in this ecosystem. I mean, like going down to MJF, like the idea of him holding on to this title for like 2 or 3 years is insane. I hope he has a long run. We can talk about him a little bit later, but like, like Tony Khan has like 2 or 3 people in the back pocket. He's like, this guy is going to be the top of the company when he takes out this guy.
Like any criticisms about Tony Khan, whatever, but it's like he also understands when it's time to drop a belt off somebody.
I don't know. Now I'm really on board with the idea of MJF holding onto his belt longer than Roman.
If anybody could make that work and stay fresh, he'd have a shot at it.
No,
I want him to do it by one day.
I disagree. Again, it's going, like, there's nowhere for him to go.
Yeah.
If that happens, there's nowhere for his character to go, because I mean, yes, part of the MJF thing, and we'll get into it more later, but part of it is like, yes, you can tell in his matches he is scrambling, he is panicking, he's like, oh shit, I'm gonna lose, and then somehow he doesn't, and he's like, yeah, I am still the best. Fuck all. He literally goes like, fuck all you.
Have you seen the clip of him, of just his audio during this match? Again, we can get to that later, but somebody...
Well, we'll table that for later. But yeah, it's just, it's an interesting dichotomy, and even MJF would not want to do that.
Yeah.
I fully think, well, I mean, if you ask him in public, he's going to lie.
Right.
But,
but
he seems like he has a good sense of business.
Very much so. I think, admittedly, it's a little easy to get off on this topic because I admit we're coming up on a match after that great Battle Royal. This next match really didn't do as much for me. This is Adam Cole versus Chris Jericho in an unsanctioned match.
I thought it was fine till the end.
Yeah. So this match had Sabu as a special guest enforcer. It's not really clear what he's enforcing in an unsanctioned match.
He chased everyone else to the back, and then they all sat down to have a nice meal.
I'll give him credit. Yeah, Sabu was not within 90 seconds of the match starting. Everybody was gone except for the 2 competitors. So he did his
essentially.
Well.
Yes, he did his job, and it's like it. Even in his older age, it's not like he wasn't a menace the entire time out there.
Yeah, give him credit. He went up to the top ropes and leaped would be a stretch. I think falling with style.
No, and at this point, I mean, who can blame him? His knees are probably shot, but he got as much air as he could. And
does a table spot too. I think it was Matt Menard of the JAS on the outside. One of the 2.0 guys.
Trust me, he hit that table better than he sometimes would in his prime.
I can believe that. All right, but it is actually interesting because, Roderick Strong enters with Adam Cole and the whole JAS enters with Chris Jericho, and then they pretty much all clear out, which makes a certain amount of sense because they've got Anarchy in the Arena coming up, and you don't want to have too much of the brawling factions thing.
That is what the Enforcer was there for. He helped clear the ringside so that the focus was just Cole versus Jericho.
Yep. And then we've got just kind of your basic weapons legal.
Well, I should point out
back and forth.
The stipulation of this match, which I didn't know until they announced it, was this is unsanctioned. It's not being recognized by AEW Aubrey is just there to count a pen, basically.
Which makes it weird that they had a contract signing segment for it last Wednesday, but that's, again,
I mean, you could just call that a
works.
glorified waiver. I mean,
Yeah.
if however you want to explain it away, that is weird that there was a contract for
They're
it.
signing a space rental for the ring separate from their AEW contracts. I don't know.
Yeah, it's because it's like it's more like an unsanctioned match. I'll get there when we get to the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a pretty fun match.
Yeah, I
overall.
mean, these guys are both really good. It's great to see Adam Cole back. I don't know if you've seen any of All Access, but some of it's just kind of your general like reality TV storytelling. But actually, the bits about him going to see specialists when he's recovering from his concussions.
Oh,
and,
nice.
Yeah, dealing with just kind of the side effects, the dizziness, and all of that. Like it seemed like there was a period where he really wasn't sure he'd be able to make it back. So it's really good to see him
nice.
not just back, but in a match that's pretty physically demanding. And Jericho, as always, just seems really just happy to be putting over the ones that he kind of views as like the
one
real
positive,
stars.
Yeah, that's one positive you can always give Jericho is he is very enthusiastic about rising talent, and like if he feels like you're worth it, he'll put you over big time.
Yeah, it's funny that really the only face turn he's really had during his time in AEW was so that he could feud with MJF. And
right.
it lasted for a little after that, but I feel like that was really the main thing where he's like, well, this guy's such a good heel, he can't possibly be facing our feud. So,
no, it's true.
All right, I'll put the good guy shirt on for just long enough for that to work. And yeah, that's what he's doing here. He's just being the bad guy that Cole can righteously beat senseless.
And they do have a fairly wild match that culminates in Jericho grabbing the long shackles. I don't know what they officially call it. It's like that's like I looked at those and I was like, I think a BDSM dungeon is missing.
It's like
something.
a leash length set of handcuffs.
It is.
Yeah, and it's weird because he puts one cuff on Cole's wrist, and then
it's definitely not for dogs because they're cuffs. They're not.
And then he sort of walks around kind of swinging it and just showing it to the crowd. And it's not really clear what his next plan was because, again, that's a really long chain. Like, if he cuffed it on Cole's other wrist, he'd still have full range of motion. I don't really know.
Yeah.
I guess he could have, like, handcuffed it, like, through the turnbuckle, but we'll never know because, of course, Cole rallies, attacks him, and then just puts the other one on Jericho's wrist, so they're tethered for the rest of the match.
And, yeah, they continue to fight, and it becomes an impromptu, like, kind of like an impromptu bull rope match because they're now chained together.
There's one bit where Jericho grabs a kendo stick and then Britt comes out. And
that's right. Britt did intercede, yes.
Yeah, because Jericho, being too much of a gentleman to attack Britt directly, had instead handcuffed her boyfriend to the ropes and then made him watch as 3 other women beat Britt senseless.
Right.
But yeah, so she comes out, lays into Jericho with a kendo stick, and then she and Saraya go fighting to the outside. Which again, for an unsanctioned match, that's a limited amount of outside interference, I think, just because of everything they've got stored up for later in the evening. But so it ends with kind of an unconventional ending for one of these types of matches.
Unconventional, wrong.
Yeah, so just to give a quick summary, Cole hits the boom. He does the running knee to the back of Jericho's head, and then instead of going for a pin, wraps the chain around his knee again, does the move a second time, and then rather than pinning him, he wraps the chain around his forearm and just basically starts laying into Jericho on the mat.
Yeah.
And after about 5 or 6 seconds of this, Aubrey Edwards signals for them to call the match. And I think everyone in the room had flashbacks to a very bright red light and a goofily colored cell surrounding a clown man covered in ladders and chairs.
So here's the problem with this, and the crowd knew it too because they were not happy with the end of that match either. The problem is it's an unsanctioned match. It means that none of AEW's rules and regulations apply. Again, like I said, Aubrey is there to basically, as a formality, count a pin or a pin or a submission. She's there to basically signal the end of the match.
Yeah.
She should not be able to call a match even though Jericho is ostensibly unconscious and being hit with a chain. It's like, that's not, she has no power to do that, and ostensibly in an unsanctioned match. And I think the fans also knew that. And it's just like, it's this idea of it's like when a movie sets up rules for how something is supposed to work, and then in the finale just decides to break those rules to have an ending. And it's just like, you have to follow your own rules. And when you don't, it comes out unsatisfactory. And I think that kind of nosedive things a bit for me.
I guess, and I agree with you that it just felt wrong. It just didn't. It didn't feel like the right crescendo for something like this. I'll give it a little bit of leeway because arguably ending a match with one wrestler unresponsive is a legit ending. It's like if Cole had locked him in a chokehold and Jericho had gone limp, it would have been valid for Aubrey to call the match there. My issue with it is that it just felt like it happened way too fast. That Jericho takes a hit and he goes down and then he's taking hits on the mat. I feel like we needed another few seconds of him just being completely...
Aubrey needed to check him and be like, oh, he's a super unresponsive. We need to stop.
Yeah.
That would have given me a little bit more. Because I know, I could tell what they were going for because Cole wasn't going for a pin.
Right.
The only thing he wanted to do was beat on Jericho.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does. But it is a good idea for an ending, but for that, I would have not done it unsanctioned.
Yeah, and that is part of the issue. Is I do find myself wondering, did this really need to be unsanctioned? If anything, just like you could have Aubrey get like incapacitated, although again that's something that'll come up later. But if you really want to have them go vicious at each other, just have a ref-free few minutes.
Plus, I mean, I get that you had to have something happen or step in, because to let that continue, it drags on long enough that you're going to turn Cole when you don't want to turn him.
Right. I mean, the whole build up to this was about establishing all of the legit reasons he has to hate Jericho and just want to cut loose on him. Mm-hmm. And I think they probably had enough leeway that he could have been a little more vicious in that final beating to justify there. But yeah, no, it felt...
I think that's part of it. It didn't seem like this was more vicious than what had preceded it.
Yeah.
And in that way, it's just like, it just seemed like the match just ended.
Right. And especially frustrating because an unsanctioned match is supposed to be like, okay, we've exhausted all other options. This is the only way to settle this. But I think it's... after the end of the next match, there's a segment backstage where Jericho and Saraya announce that they're having a mixed tag match with Cole and Britt Baker on Dynamite, which...
It's like, an unsanctioned match is supposed to be like, okay, fine, no rules, there are no rules we can impose to make this work. You're on your own, solve it.
Yeah, so it's like, what ends the feud after this, if not legally being able to just do whatever violence you want on the other person?
A mixed tag.
I guess that's going to be the way.
That's what they're going with.
Can't fault them for wanting to...
And if it's entertaining, great. But I mean, I don't understand the direction that...
Yeah.
May I propose the loaded gun match? No?
No.
Like Austin and Colton have to do like 8 shots before they come down, or...
Oh, no. Like 10 paces and turn match.
He wants to give them a loaded gun in 5 minutes of quiet.
This is my ongoing theory about how you make all sports better. Add a loaded gun.
Yeah, blood sport. You want blood sport.
With special guest enforcer Brian Pillman Jr.
Oh, no, Arn's right there.
Football, better if you add a gun.
Well,
hockey.
They start with a gun.
It's true. Just keep it going throughout. One player on each team has a gun with one bullet in it that they can use at whatever point they want during the game.
Can you imagine the unprecedented and, frankly, insane cheating that would happen over the gun?
I'd watch more football.
I think it might make... You're right. The things people would do to acquire the loaded gun might make the game unsafe.
They're going to tamper with the gun.
What are they going to do? Get a concussion?
Man. Ritualized violence. What are we even doing as a society?
So anyway, what's the next match?
Well, let's see. So Adam Cole versus Chris Jericho. I'll give it 2.5 Meltzers. And I will say credit, they did call it as Cole's victory. They didn't just
they did. Yeah, it was called in favor of Cole. Yes. It wasn't it did end suddenly, but there wasn't like a no contest or shrug.
Yeah. Which is again another reason that I didn't have too bad of a flashback to the Seth Rollins Fiend catastrophe.
That one's just going to hang out there for all time.
As well it should.
Yeah.
All right, so next up, the AEW Tag Team Championships being defended by FTR against Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal.
Oh, this was some good old-fashioned Looney Tunes bullshit.
Yeah, this was just fun. I've really come to enjoy Jeff Jarrett. I can kind of take or leave. I know he's a legend and been around forever, but I love
what?
Lethal.
I'm pulling a dog, and I'm really starting to enjoy his presence the more it makes him unhappy.
Yeah. There are some cases where, because Gina hates him, Gina, host of This Is a Takeover and wife of myself. Yeah, she hates Jeff Jarrett. And there are some wrestlers where I get like a perverse counter enjoyment from that. But yeah, Jarrett, But yeah, I love Jay Lethal, love Sanjay Dutt, and I actually really enjoy Satnam Singh. I appreciate that they're not trying to push him too hard.
He was not intrusive in this match. He didn't actually do much of anything. He was just there to be an imposing threat.
Yeah, I didn't catch anything that he did, but
and I said it while we were watching. Sanjay Dutt is having far too much fun than he ever did as a competitor.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, an actor's told, like, all right, this is your prop. This prop is your character, and then they have to spend like a million hours coming up with different things to do with it. And he's done that with this pencil. Like, that pencil is its own personality.
It had a friend this time because he had a pencil behind each ear. You know what? Honestly, I love the fact that it's like here's the thing. I'm kind of on the opposite side. I could take or leave FTR. I get how they're a great tag team, but they're whatever to me. So I really enjoy Lethal and Jarrett's old school heel antics.
Yeah, I like FTR a lot generally. I do feel like they're still kind of clicking back into their rhythm. I'm not sure if it was the time off from Dax Harwood's injuries. I don't know if it's something else, but yeah, I feel like I've seen them at 100%, and this just sort of, it feels like they've been kind of in like 75 to 80 for the last little bit of their run, which for them is still, good wrestling, but
sure. I didn't really mean it like that. They just never clicked with me. And just
just across the whole
overall, yeah. I don't mind them, but it's just like,
There was one fun bit as they were coming down to the ring because Mark Briscoe, who's the special guest referee for this, requests the belt so he can hold them up to display. And Dax Harwood hands his over, and you see Cash Wheeler looking around like he's not sure where his belt is. And Dax has to lean over and tell him, it's still around your waist. And so he passes over. And but yeah, they... overall, like I said, old school heel antics for Lethal and Jarrett. And I think having Briscoe there.
Which was even more fun because they subverted them a lot, because it's like Briscoe, super like a veteran tag man, would always would pick up on what Jay and Lethal were doing and stop it most of the time.
I think they had a spot where they tried to do we tagged. You weren't looking.
The classic, we switched out and they clap and make a tag noise. So the referee in that situation, when a face is trying to get in, is like, no, you get out. And he turns around, he's like, oh, you heard? I was like, I heard a clap. You tagged? Yeah, you tagged. And Briscoe immediately turned around and was like, no, you didn't.
Yeah, no, he was having, and he had his referee shirt had camo stripes on white, which was a nice touch. I appreciate that this is that, like, the drama of this has been his friendship with FTR against his friendship with Lethal and his somewhat forced new friendship with Sanjay Dutt. But all of these friendships are in the context of the years these men have spent beating the holy hell out of each other. That, like, FTR and the Briscoes had a year of like 3 of the most insanely violent.
It was the Briscoes' final feud, yeah.
Yeah, and it makes perfect sense that it would be like, and so that's. Like, you don't even have to, like, step out of kayfabe. Just like, those are his best friends right there.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. Cash Wheeler spends a fair amount of time as the face in distress. They have a lot of spots where he'll almost make it to the edge, and then Jarrett or Lethal will pull Dax out of the way.
They did do the Briscoe. He had a lot of fun with the spot where Sanjay Dutt follows into the ring. You didn't see him touch anybody, but Sanjay Dutt got in the ring, and Briscoe's like, "You're causing too much trouble," and he throws him out.
The full, "You're out of here!"
And Sanjay Dutt sells it like someone hit him.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. So he sends him and Satnam Singh out. But unfortunately, this causes a distraction that Jarrett can use to try to hit Dax with a guitar.
Oh my God, this whole thing.
Yeah, and here's where it gets pretty wild because Dax avoids it and Briscoe takes the guitar, so he is out in the corner.
Ref bump. And then Aubrey comes out to... well, no. Who comes out?
So they FTR, they hit a big rig on Jay Lethal after that, and they go for the pin. But since there's no one to count, that's when Aubrey comes running out. And Sanjay just plants himself in her way.
Yep.
Doesn't touch her, doesn't like put up a hand to shove her back. Just
but he keeps blocking her.
Just steps left, steps right, and just will not let her go around. She finally does just shove him out of the way. And then Aubrey takes a guitar from
Karen Jarrett.
So we have a ref bump before she even makes it to the ring. Which, that's Aubrey going the extra mile. Which is actually kind of unfortunate because then Lethal hits a double lethal injection on FTR, but he can't make a pinfall because his own side has taken out the referee. When eventually Briscoe gets back up, there's a...
That's the risk you take. Sometimes you get caught up in the cheating.
Oh, we're just doing this now. We don't even have a plan. Just breaking every rule that comes in front of us. Jarrett gets pissed about a 2 count that Briscoe counts when he's back up. Tries to get in his face, and Briscoe takes more of that than I would have expected. But when Jarrett finally just slaps him, Briscoe slaps back.
Yep.
And is more than happy to count the 3 when Jarrett gets the big rig from FTR.
Yep.
So, yeah, like I said, good match. A lot of heel antics,
excellent
a lot of fun. Yeah. I think that match actually had more of a chaos sense than the unsanctioned match did. There was just sort of wildness to it.
It really did. It was surprising.
Yeah, I gave it 3 3/4 Meltzers. Let's see.
It was just a fun, nearly just like it was weirdly in control and out of control at the same time. The kind of thing the kind of energy you want in a wrestling match like that.
Well, it's the kind of chaos where you can kind of tell everybody is where they're supposed to be and the beats are landing.
Yes.
There's no like chaos of nobody knows what to do next, or shoot, that person hasn't made it out in time. Just like everything has to be really firing on all cylinders.
That not to harp on it anymore, but then the pre-show, I know that happened at least once. Matt Hardy missed a cue.
Yeah,
and they had to kind of repeat it real quick.
Yeah, that is one thing I do always love about FTR is you watch. Whether they're faces or heels, like you watch any segment where there's like a hot tag or something, the way those guys get into position for everything, you'll just see like one guy tear through and both of them will just be bouncing up and getting into exactly the right place for the other guy to make the next move. They work well with just about anybody.
See, I really love that. While a good thrown together tag team can be fun occasionally, the guys we are a tag team and we are in this together, like simpatico. I love that.
Yeah. Let's see. And then let's see. After that, there's a brief segment backstage because FDR don't get a break. They have to rescue Ricky Starks.
That was that was interesting. It's like they came off their big win and they come in and they help their good buddy Ricky Starks. It's
like we were just heading to catering. We didn't. I guess while we're here, we can chase these guys off.
Jay White and I feel bad because I forgot his name.
Mr. Tony Storm, Juice Robinson.
Yes, they attacked Ricky Starks while he was giving a quick interview.
Yeah, which I'm glad. I know Starks has had to kind of step back a little bit since his run at MJF, but
yeah.
I know there were a lot of people I think wanted him in the four pillars match, and I really can't see that match looking any better than it did. But
no, I don't know if he's quite there yet. Again,
it's one of those things where I'm happy with the way things are, but I watch Starks sometimes, and I'm like, I'd watch the other version of that too. Let's see. Then we actually have kind of an interesting thing where we have a recap video for Wardlow and Christian because they're the next ones up. Yeah. And then they have the backstage segment with Jericho and Saraya, and then they cut back to the ring for Christian's entrance.
Tactile neck.
Yes, his ring gear is actually
Evil
a sleeveless
college
turtleneck.
professor Christian.
This was not a very lively crowd across the board, but they did get a turtleneck chant going for him at one point, which was pretty great. And a astounding display of heel overconfidence. Christian has a dinosaur accompanying him to the ring, but sends him backstage before he makes it to the bottom. So I mean, dude, I respect your enthusiasm there, man. But
I mean, that is a little sad that, Luchasaurus got himself done up in his gear for that quick cameo.
Yeah, I'm glad he showed up again later, but it would have been kind of funny if that was just it.
Yeah. And Sir not appearing in this match.
But then, so Wardlow, it's really weird to think it's been 1 year since MJF and Wardlow had their match, and there was
their match in quotation marks.
And he had been on such a streak from there, and that was just a complete screeching halt to it. So I'm glad he's back, and I'm glad he's...
You watched his momentum screech to a near halt in real time. It was unfortunate.
It really was.
Because everything about the MJF angle overshadowed it.
Yeah. Which worked for MJF. I mean, look at him now. But that is one of those cases where I'm like, that doesn't feel kayfabe. That was a legit jerk move.
And really, it's taken all this time to really almost this point to get Wardlow back on track, really.
Like, he's had to get past both Samoa Joe and Will Hobbs to be back here with the belt, which, I mean, if you're going to build a guy up, that's a good way to do it. But I did really like this match, though.
Yeah, it was really good.
I appreciate that Christian, despite the whole TLC history that he's got, wasn't really going for any super insane spots.
No, I think it plays to his character and just his general sense of his persona, because it's just, you get that feeling, it's like, I'm not taking unnecessary risks.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not that young anymore.
Which you just appreciate in general, because he's still looking really good in the ring at his age compared to certain other people of that same era.
Yeah.
And someone also, I think, made the point, I think it was the Ring of Honor, the tag team ladder match where Dante Martin broke his leg.
Ooh, yeah.
Somebody just made the point that a lot of modern ladder matches have just become escalating spots, which are cool, but it's also just you've got to do something bigger and crazier and more dangerous.
You really don't.
You really don't.
The drama is, can you get one over on the other guy and get the title? It's like, it's like you just need to definitively ground him. You don't have to get wild. I saw outside. I don't know. It's really one of the best ladder matches in history is HBK versus Razor Ramon, and they don't do a lot of high flying spots. And I don't think they do any off the ladder. I don't remember. I have watched it. It's been a while though, but I think, and maybe HBK comes off the turnbuckle, but it's the ladder is just there to be climbed. Which
I've liked a lot for this one. You've just got most of the spots are just trying to set up the ladder, and then there's a lot of them getting hit by it. There's a nice bit where Wardlow tries to get the ladder in the ring. Christian drop kicks it across the apron, hits him, and then Christian tries to go off the ropes and go through, but Wardlow's back up and just throws the ladder back into his face.
Yep. So. Yeah, those are simple and easy ladder spots that are also effective and brutal looking. Yeah. And of course, like Christian, like you said, he avoided doing really high risk stuff, but he still took a ladder and was it the ladder or the chair? He wedged it into the ring post.
I think that was the ladder.
The ladder. Yeah, and he used the ladder by slinging Wardlow into it.
Yeah. Then let's see, you had it's. I always forget that Christian is 6'3", that he's really big for normal person standards.
There's a lot of wrestlers like that. That's they're tall. They're taller than average, but it's just in a field of people that size, it's hard for them to really stand out until you see them in real life or next to someone who's a more average size.
Yeah. So of course this doesn't just stay confined to Christian and Wardlow. Eventually, let's see. I think after. Wardlow does a pretty awesome. He picks up Christian in a gorilla press, spins him around, and then just drops him onto the ladder.
Oh yeah.
And with him out of it, Wardlow starts to climb, and that's when Luchasaurus comes down.
Yes.
And gets involved. I forgot about this because he takes out the ladder, right? He hits it and it bends. No, it's the ladder that Christian landed on.
Yes,
that takes damage.
It's warped, it's damaged. Wardlow's trying to use it anyway, and the ref is no, let us get you a better one.
He was trying. I think Rick Knox came in for a moment to try to steady that, and immediately saw no, that is not going to hold up.
Absolutely not. Yeah. And they switch out for a new one. A smart tactic, and it's something you like to see. And I take it back. It's when Luchasaurus came back out, it's interesting because it's just I do admit, thinking about it now in retrospect, I do like the fact that Christian did wave him off to the back again. But it's just a reminder. It's like, oh, Luchasaurus is here.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't need him out here right now, but that's a surprise for later.
Chekhov's dinosaur. Let's see. So, and then we get Arn Anderson, of course, coming out, and
that's right. He was in Wardlow's corner.
Yeah, he did not have his gun, so admittedly, not quite a match.
There was a brief moment where everyone was like, "Is he gonna spinebuster Luchasaurus?"
He sets up behind him. He's going into the crouch. He's ready.
He does something wilder somehow.
Yeah, Luchasaurus grabs him for a choke slam, but he has put his hand near an old man's mouth, and that is just always a mistake.
Bad news. The teeth were in. But yeah, no, Arn Anderson tries to bite off Luchasaurus's thumb.
And there is a wicked effective blood pack because he's got blood streaming from his mouth for the rest of the match.
Yeah, it's like the only thing is like there was a bad camera angle and I happened to see the pack in his mouth right as he was about to bite down. It was like, oh, something's about to go.
No, I think that was a piece of skin. I think that was a piece of thumb flesh, clearly. Must have. That's how hard he bit. It was there before his teeth came down.
I don't know for sure, but it looked like they maneuvered like a fake bit of thumb onto Luchasaurus's thumb.
I was wondering if that was supposed to look like kind of a bit of a stump or something.
Not a stump. I think it was meant to look like he bit the top off.
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, yeah.
Which, I mean, it was a fun moment.
As long as you don't hold a camera on it, it looks fine.
Yeah. That's the thing. If you really catch that on first viewing, that's when it's become a problem. But if they move fast enough,
easily forgivable because this whole match was fun.
Yeah.
It was great. Wardlow, toward the end, ends up putting Luchasaurus through a table via he hops off a ladder.
Yeah, it's the highest ladder because they always have at least one that like is actually tall enough from the outside to
I know
reach
we
the
were all
belt
kind
level.
of yelling, why don't you take that ladder and put it in the ring?
But there's a dinosaur on tables, and some opportunities only come along.
Fine.
I know he's got a name. I just like to keep referring to the fact that there's a dinosaur in this wrestling event.
Again, Wardlow also took the other, like I would say, major ladder spot. It wasn't like a huge dive or anything, but he was going to like get Christian up for like a power bomb through a ladder they had put on the barrier to the ring, and then Christian crotched him on it.
Yeah, takes out his shin and he just does the fall.
Yep.
Let's see. Oh, another great Christian moment after Wardlow does that huge senton. They cut to the camera. Just this is very nicely positioned. You see Christian do sort of that Kilroy style, like slowly poke his eyes up.
It felt like a reference
side.
to McMahon at WrestleMania, I think 19, when he faced Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
When he crept his bloody head over the end. Like
Are they gone?
Yeah, he looked up after Wardlow, I think, did the table spot with Luchasaurus.
Yeah. And again,
all clear.
Great spot on this. He gets most of the way up, and then Arn pushes the ladder over, and Christian comes off it and lands perfectly in a powerbomb position from Wardlow.
Yep, he lands onto Wardlow's shoulders.
And eats a powerbomb, and then Wardlow climbs to get the belt and retain. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I love that match.
So good, yeah.
And yeah, just a reminder that you don't need like 450 splashes. You don't need like 8 ladders stacked on top of each other. Yeah. It felt very fundamental in a way that honestly I think Wardlow does really well. I think there's a real old school quality about him.
Yeah, and Christian doing such a great job helping get Wardlow over further, coming off of him. Literally putting the nail in the coffin on his feud with Jungle Boy.
Yeah.
Same thing. I mean, he's been working very hard to help people get over.
I do feel like of that kind of generation of tag guys in WWE, like the Dudleys, the Hardys, and Edge and Christian, I really do feel like Christian was the one who never got the most respect out of that whole group, but I think looking back on it all these years later, he just seems like he has the best understanding of just what you do in a ring.
Oh, yeah.
Compared, like, it's not just being about spots or not just being about, the swagger or anything, but just he really knows how to put a match together. So, and I'm just really glad to see him still working with guys like this. So yeah, 4 Meltzers from me.
Excellent.
All right, and then okay, here we go. So this is the point where I actually had to step out for a minute, so I missed the opening part of this match. But this was Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm defending the AEW Women's title. Yeah, so I believe Hayter has a legitimate arm injury that she's dealing with.
I think that influenced this. Honestly, I mean, in terms of what they did to compensate, I think it was fine.
I think they did the best they could with that limitation.
The idea was not to drag this out. So how do you shorten it in a way that isn't like insulting? I would say, and that is cheat the hardest you've ever cheated before. Yeah. The ratio of cheating per minute in this match is incredible.
The amount of time that is actually Jamie Hayter and Toni Storm in the ring wrestling each other versus the amount of time that is Hayter being attacked by Ruby on the ramp or being sprayed with green mist, or like I would say it's probably 50-50, if that.
You know, and I think they sped up a lot of the match because it's like Hikaru Shida came out to help, couldn't stop it. But it was I think they did a good job of being like, again, like they mentioned the arm injury, and so it's like, oh yeah, so the heels just play the numbers game and cheat like hell, and yeah, that's how it goes. Because it's like the next pay-per-view is the Wembley, the English show, and it's like
all in.
Yeah, all in, and there's no way she was going to go to that show and not either arrive and or leave as champion. So this is going to set it up as for a really good match, and hopefully she'll have time to rehab enough.
Yeah, I definitely think an element of this was that there was a lot of controversy around when Thunder Rosa had to relinquish the belt, and Tony's entire title run was as interim champion, even though it was pretty clear that Rosa wasn't going to be coming back soon. And while they sort of retroactively announced that, oh yeah, no, Toni Storm was the women's champion that whole time, it was after she lost it. Yeah. So I think a big part of this, and I think Hayter might have, I don't know how much influence she would have had over this, but if she was like, all right, I'm not feeling 100%, but I'm going to come out, we're going to have a match, she's going to pin me, and she's going to have that gold properly for at least a short period of time.
And you have to think of it storyline-wise, this works even if the injury was kayfabe. Yeah. Like, this works perfectly because it's like, it's the most unfair way you can lose a title. Tony gets another shot. Tony gets another run. And then it's like it's an excellent build to an expected rematch. Yeah. It's like I think it was like in all the ways it could have gone, the circumstances have lined up to make their eventual return match a really good match.
Oh, Chris, my friend, just as we've been talking, you have persuaded me on this. I've actually played with some numbers here, and all right, this match just went up from a 2 1/4 to a 3 while we've been talking.
I did it.
So
I did it, everyone.
Because I was sold on the angle overall, because I do where they came in and where they're going. All of that's solid to me. The match itself, I just was sort of but no, I get what you're saying, that it's just like, all right, a blitz against that the face can't overcome, and honestly, I liked the
good story work can cover a lot of sins. Yeah. I think it's like how if a wrestler's charismatic enough, you can forgive a lack of technical skill. I think it's like it was. I mean, it wasn't pretty, but it did the job I think it needed to do to set up for a future return in a great match.
Yeah, because I would have taken points off, because I think the scale of cheating was so much that I was like, you know what. Hayter's got an injury. She's been attacked before the match. Maybe having her get sprayed with green, but you know what? You make a good case for that being like a deliberate, like, push it far enough, cross the line twice.
I see. I like it that way too, where it's like the heels are like, well, let's just do all the cheating.
We could do this or this or this
or.
But yeah, no, it was good, and like you said, I'm excited for that rematch too, because these two have had a great run of matches in AEW so far.
Yeah, it just that whole match kind of just embodies the Ventura ethos of win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat.
Yes, indeed.
ABC, always be cheating.
All right, so yeah, you talked that one up to a 3 Meltzers on my list.
Doing God's work, yes.
Let's see, entering the right way. All right, so then from there we go into the AEW World Trios Championships being defended by the House of Black against the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. So
who?
That name is familiar. Is there another?
I recall the third man being Daddy Ass.
There it is. Okay. Yeah, Billy Gunn was the guy who used to hang around with those two dumb kids. Daddy Ass is the awesome guy who took his place.
That's correct.
All right, let's see. Yeah, so
the Acclaimed won him in the divorce.
Anybody who would be listening to this with no idea of what's happening would be so confused right now.
If that's happened, I would love to hear from you. How did you do this?
we grew our audience. How did that happen?
How did we land on Daddy Ass? I know how we did because I heard you tell the story the other night, Robert.
I've got a PowerPoint pulled up here. Hold on. The audience won't see it, but I want David to see it.
No. Moving on.
Anyway,
Daddy
real quick,
Ass.
the evolution of Billy Gunn's nickname.
All right, but yeah, so Acclaimed versus House of Black, and this match is being contested under House Rules, which is sort of their own like special set of stipulations that the House of Black has for anybody who challenges them.
First of all, mood lighting.
Mood lighting. It's a shade below the Mountain Dew pitch black level, but still, got a nice ambience to it.
And Mountain Dew, we are accepting sponsors if you're still trying to push Code Black or whatever the hell it was called.
Not only have I never heard of the drink, I've never heard of one of the wrestlers in that match since it's happened, so it's kind of the opposite of successful product placement.
Mountain Dew, ignore what Robert just said. We're totally open to sponsorship.
Do you have any suggested guns for the ones that could be inserted in football? I'm sure we could, Glock, Smith & Wesson.
Give me 5 minutes and I'll make a PowerPoint presentation.
All right, so
With lots of bullet points.
This one is done with, the Acclaimed enter with, one of their traditional freestyles ahead of time. I don't have much to comment on that, except that I just appreciate that Max Caster calls out. Let's see, I've got this written down here. I'm not going to try to reproduce it. Buddy Matthews trying to look so ominous, even though he's being cucked by a kid named Dominic.
Yep.
Yeah. Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio just crossing all company lines.
I was going to say that's a little on the nose.
Let's see. So then, fun match. I like the House of Black a lot. They've got a great energy. I don't know why they haven't really. I loved the where they took it from Death Triangle. I thought that was a great match. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's kind of a recurring issue where the way that they basically build their feuds by just sort of doing vignettes and then occasionally attacking people kind of makes it hard for them to build a real heat to the specific person they're fighting.
It's true, yeah.
I don't want to say it's quite interchangeable, but there's a certain element where it's I don't want to say it's interchangeable exactly, but it does sort of feel like the House of Black doing the House of Black thing in a build-up, especially because this match came together kind of late. I don't think they were even officially announced as their opponents until the night of.
Yeah, they need someone to focus on for a while. They haven't landed on anybody yet, I don't think.
Yeah, so good match. I like everybody involved.
A good match. I think there's not a lot to go into here, especially story-wise, because there isn't really. It's just an open challenge. It was a good match. Everyone gets kind of sprawled out until Gunn tries to basically come in on a hot tag, but then he gets routed. And then
he takes out Brody and he takes out Buddy, and then turns around into a black mass and takes the pin.
Yep. Again, worth pointing out, Billy Gunn turned 60 in November.
Yeah, he just looks really good in there.
Almost timeless, honestly. He looks very he has noticeable age to him, but he still looks fantastic for a man who's been in wrestling as long as he has.
Yeah, better than guys 15 years younger than him, which is still mid-40s, but
still is athletic too.
Yeah. Overall, there's not really a lot to say. Just that it's a fun match. I like the House of Black. I think they're
solid match. Yeah,
they're the right ones to have the trios titles right now.
Yeah.
There was one bit that I remember. I think it was you pointed this out when we were watching, that the crowd seemed really quiet, like they weren't into it. But I think you were just no, they're anticipating.
That's how a lot of matches go. I noticed I will note that too. It's the crowd's being quiet, but I think there's they know that it's building to something, or the big spots are coming. They know. And they're just waiting, and they're just letting it build and basically just watching them work a little bit.
Which they did in this case with Anthony Bowen spending a lot of time in the ring, just not being able to get back to his corner with the house working him over. And I think it was Caster who got the the hot tag on that, and that's when the crowd really.
It's weirdly. I don't think it's a 1-to-1 kind of thing, but it's almost kind of similar to the Japanese audience. Kind of the way a Japanese audience watches wrestling is they'll usually be fairly silent, and they will react for the big moves and everything. But they're generally pretty respectful and quiet. I'm not surprised that could be happening, but it's like again, it's just like. They're just kind of like, it's like it's building, and I think a lot of the audience respects that and just wants to see it. It's like, okay, and then the big stuff pops off, and then they're super into it.
Yeah, which definitely you could hear them really be engaged on the big moments and the big hits, but it is a little weird for an American wrestling show to not have just there being at least one person trying to start a chant every 20 seconds or something.
You can tell how much WWE relies on constant chatter when they, add some of their own.
And that's the thing. It's like, you know what? I hear the silences, and it's how I know that I'm not hearing piped-in noise. And so, you know what? I'll take that.
But again, that's also kind of the point of a match. Is like, it's like if people are chanting stuff during a rest hold or something slow happening, it's like I don't know if they're really focused on the match so much as they want to make noise.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, we saw AEW when they came through Charlotte a little while back, and I discovered how much I love chanting along with people. It's
addictive.
I could get seduced into a cult so quickly. It's a little terrifying.
Look, they've got good chants. I mean, give me the robes. I mean, I'm in.
Free robes and chanting?
Yeah, no.
But yeah, so you weren't getting so much of that at this event, and it felt like outside of the matches that really lit the crowd up, like the Battle Royal and then the double main event.
That's not a thing.
It's really not. I hate that it's become that's just wrestling.
I know you want the world title to be just as important as the other thing, but it's just like, look, just for this night, that's the main event.
I appreciate when MJF was asked at the scrum afterwards, he's like, "What, you think I want to wrestle rolling around in Jon Moxley's blood?"
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's all you need. But yeah, trios match, I don't have a whole lot to say about it, but I did enjoy it a lot. I gave it 3 3/4 Meltzers.
Yeah, I mean that's the fun thing. Like matches, I'm always grateful for matches like this because you don't always need a huge build up for a lot of matches. Like you need drama as a through line, but it's just like, hey, sometimes you just want to see two great teams go after each other.
Sometimes there's not a lot to say that wouldn't just be trying to go, and then this guy did this, and then that guy did this, and yeah.
The stories in the ring. The Acclaim tried to take the titles, and they couldn't do it.
Julia Hart had a very nice hat.
And little finger things.
Oh, yeah. She had her silver bugle fingers.
Yes.
Let's see. So, yeah. House of Black retains. And then before the next match, we have a promo for AEW Fight Forever.
Yes.
Which I would very happily sponsor.
They only just this past week, or leading up to the pay-per-view, they finally announced the release date for it. End of June 29th.
And I always am a generation behind on gaming consoles.
Yeah.
Like I'm on a PS4 now. I wait till the game library gets really cheap. But it is being released for that one, so I'm very much looking forward to trying that.
It was back when they announced it. I think the PS5 had just come out, so it's like they were solidly behind it. Plus, the type of game they're going for is like the N64 types, where it's like the gameplay is the main focus. It kind of has like a WWE All Stars kind of look and feel to it.
Yeah, it's not exactly stylized, but it doesn't. No. It's like you said, it's clearly not meant to be photorealistic of the shape of that guy's head or the way that guy's hair looks.
Gameplay and fun is the focus, especially because they have mini games in it. So
yeah, which I'm very excited for, and they've specified that they're going to be unsanctioned matches allowed, like blood everywhere. Nyla Rose.
Intergender, there's going to be intergender stuff.
I can't recommend Nyla Rose enough as a Twitter follow. She recommended a mode of the game where you have to finish the match before Eddie Kingston makes it to the ring and lights everyone on fire.
Too. That was like when she said it, was like, yes, that makes perfect sense. It's like it's like a Tonberry in Final Fantasy. If you let him attack, you're dead.
Exactly. All right, so the next matchup is Jade Cargill defending the TBS Championship against Taya Valkyrie. I've actually been pretty happy to see this feud. Ever since seeing her on Lucha Underground, I really like Taya as a competitor. I think she brings a fun power against power energy for Jade, which really isn't something they've done a lot in her run as champion.
Yeah. This was really my first match of hers I've seen. I know of her and I've seen her, seen stuff about her, but I hadn't really had a chance to watch her in ring stuff. This was the first time.
Yeah, no, she comes from a strong lucha background, so she's done a lot of stuff with like AAA, I think CMLL.
Okay.
Had a brief run in NXT, and then was kind of caught up in the great like wave of releases in
I remember
in 2020.
that. Yeah.
But I think it's probably worked out for the best for her. She's definitely, I think, works like much better in like other leagues and other promotions. I just don't think WWE style really worked for her. Because I don't. One of the things they did to build up this feud, because a lot of it has kind of the transparent secret on this is that it was sort of a stall, because they were hoping to get Chris Statlander back in time to have a feud with Jade Cargill as she was recovering. So they brought Ty in, had her feud with Jade, and then had their match on Dynamite be with the stipulation that Taya couldn't use her finishing move, because they actually have the same finisher, that sort of lift up face buster. Taya calls it the Road to Valhalla, Jade calls it the Jaded. So there was a Smart Mark Sterling had a contract drawn up that Taya couldn't use hers, and so that's how Jade got the win.
It'd be funny if she did it anyway and argued, no, I did the Jaded, not the Road to Valhalla.
Or just like in court, just be like, no, the Road to Valhalla is like this, but the Road to Valhalla is like this, and just had
like Vanilla Ice talking about how the song is different enough.
Just listen to it.
It's the little bitty dings.
But yeah, so this ended up, again, it felt like at every stage of the feud, they were sort of like, okay, if Statlander's ready for Double or Nothing, we're going to like step Ty out and she can come in. Statlander's not going to be ready for a build. Okay, we'll have them actually have their match. And again, I was surprised. It only lasted, it was only a little under 9 minutes. Not a long match, but it felt good. Like strong power moves, good trading. We had some people in our group who aren't big fans of Jade, but I've really come to like her. I think she's.
Again, it's kind of like FTR is like I only really, since again I don't watch the regular programming. I haven't seen enough, and just what I have seen via pay-per-view is like, I guess.
I just find her interesting because she's a tall, like she's a power wrestler.
Yes.
Like, but she's not built the way normally, especially in the women's roster. When you've got stronger women, they tend to have sort of, trying to choose my words carefully, more stout builds, like more like developed upper bodies, shorter legs. Jade,
I'll take the ball. It's the strong fat versus the bodybuilder physique.
Well, yeah, but even more than a bodybuilder, I think she's got a WNBA background or a NCAA. Like she played competitive basketball, so she's got like a great like leaping pump kick ability, and it's not the kind of power we normally see from female competitors, which is something I've enjoyed a lot in her run. Let's see. I am sad that Stokely Hathaway didn't last as her manager. I thought that was a fun ride for a few weeks, but not sure why that broke up. But there have been some rumors. Yeah, overall not a long match. But see any particular moments that jumped out at you?
The one where after she beat Taya, Smart Mark Sterling reiterated that she would accept any comers, anytime, anywhere.
Anytime, anywhere. No one has ever regretted saying those words in professional wrestling.
No, because that's where it ended and nothing happened.
Until several seconds later, at which point a new theme hits and Chris Statlander comes out to the ring, and speaking of powerful women, she is looking like a tank. I mean, she's always been pretty sturdy, but like she hit that ring and looked like she could have flipped it over if she wanted to. But yeah, so after Jade retains against Taya and gets her officially her 60-0 record, she starts another match with Statlander. Fails to hit a Jaded, and then immediately eats the Big Bang Theory is Statlander's finisher, and Jade takes her first loss in AEW by pinfall. So we have a new TBS champion in Chris Statlander.
How exciting, because now you can have a storyline of, well, now who... Jade came in and immediately won the title, so now you have to find out who she is now that she's not the champion.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about, because, I mean, there's a part of me that again, as we were talking about earlier, the case for keeping the belt on somebody for way too long and just grinding down all competition. There's a part of me that kind of wishes we'd had a proper build to Statlander taking this, because just the first loss for somebody with that kind of undefeated streak is such a huge moment. But I think after watching the feud with Ty, it was just sort of like, Jade's gone through everybody. Like, it's the time for her to lose it. And I get why they want it to be at a pay-per-view, so it's either stall for another 3 months or just take the big moment, have Statlander win, and just get everybody wondering what happens next. It's going to be tough because, again, her whole thing has been that she's dominant and unbeatable. But, yeah, this is... I'm going to assume they wouldn't do this if they didn't have some confidence in what they can do with her next.
I believe in it, too.
Yeah, so between these two, I gave Jade and Taya 2.5.
Sure.
Solid match. Jade and Statlander, I couldn't really go with that.
I don't know if you can give it a score. Honestly,
I almost didn't, but they did ring a bell. There was a pinfall, so I'm giving it.
It's the most technical of technically, it's a match. Yes.
Yeah. So,
and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean
It's a story segment that happened between bells, but I do give it 1 3/4 just because there really wasn't a lot of story. There wasn't a lot of. It's something that you have to do sometimes at pay-per-view, which is just make a hard swerve into the next phase of your story. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm excited to see Statlander with the championship. I'm really glad that she's softened the alien gimmick, that it's not really a whole thing anymore, because that never really landed, so to speak. But that was.
I am so sorry.
That was David trying to hurl himself away from the microphone so you wouldn't hear him laughing at the joke, but he did not succeed. But yeah, so
wait, what joke?
Much like Statlander's ride to the arena, it went over everyone's head.
Boo.
As Robert sips his bourbon.
All right, so anyway, moving on ahead.
Oh no, that just makes him think he's funnier.
Yeah, if podcast audience, if you don't care for the dad jokes, then
you're in the wrong fucking network.
We're not time-stamping these. You're on your own.
All right, so now we get into the first of our double main event.
That's not a thing.
It is not. But you know what? If any two matches could make me believe it, this one came pretty close.
No. I believe it. Yeah, that is true. These are both excellent matches. It just makes me think of the. It's a short tangent, I promise. When WCW licensed the Kiss gimmick, the Kiss persona for a wrestler, it was under the stipulation that Gene Simmons said they had to be in I can't remember how many, a certain number of main events in order to be allowed to use this as a gimmick. So, so what Eric Bischoff did to get around that, when it turned out that the guy they put the gimmick on wasn't main event caliber, was they would have him come out for his matches in the mid-card, but call it a special main event. And that's the special main event moniker is what I think of when I hear stuff like this. Yeah. Unintentional tie together, but...
I'm really surprised that more wrestlers don't have side careers as lawyers, because it does, I feel like, require your brain to work the same way a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so yeah, we got our four-way match among the four pillars for the AEW World Championship. MJF defending against Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, and Jungle Boy Jack Perry. I was wondering if he was going to drop that entirely after the feud with Christian, but I think I
want him to hold on to it.
Yeah. We can still call him Jack, but
look, that's a nice harken back to also old days where it's just like, a man would have a gimmick, but eventually it was just a name, just like a nickname. Yeah. There are so many cowboys in wrestling, and most of them just wore hats.
Yeah, long and glorious tradition.
Terry Funk was like the most cowboy of wrestlers, and he rarely. Yeah. And at a certain point, he wouldn't wear like cowboy themed stuff, but I mean, he fought like one.
The Undertaker used to actually be a guy who like worked with dead bodies and things.
Oh, yeah.
That was just a long, long time ago. All right, so yeah, we have so all four guys make their entrances. Sammy comes out for his entrance and is holding cue cards, which was something he used to do on Dynamite, where he'd show them during picture-in-picture and just like cut a promo using words he'd written on cue cards. This was odd because in this case it's a pay-per-view. No, there's not going to be any break or cutaway.
Other wrestlers have done this before, and it's kind of an interesting idea to pull for him.
It is, and in this case, it was because his wife, Ty Conti, was out with him, and one of the cards they had featured ultrasounds of their incoming child.
Now, are they sure she's the mom?
There's really no way to be sure.
Can he take paternity leave immediately?
I feel bad for the amount of heat that baby is going to be born into. Like, there's going to be, like, outside the delivery room, like a bunch of fans
Your
just banging
parents
on the
suck.
window. What about Pam? Oh, man. But no, that's good for him, and it almost made me...
Yeah.
He vaulted into position as the fourth on my list of people I wanted to win this match. So
sure.
he cracked the top 5 thanks to that announcement.
Are you saying there could have been an accident and like David Penzer fell on MJF and
Justin Roberts finds himself in the ring, and I don't know. Just there would be people above Sammy on that on my selections here. But no, actually, on that note, though, I do want to ask: was there any point either in the build up to this or during where you thought MJF might actually be losing?
No. Honestly, it's not even because I'm being cynical. Not even because I hate the idea of him winning again.
Right.
It's just like logically, it's still for him. I think they can draw it out a little bit longer, and cement this. I think it's going to come to a head at some point, maybe by the end of the year. Mostly because of how he left when he left the ring and he was shouting at the camera. One of the things he said was, Tony, you need to get me some competition. I'm starting to get bored. It's like, that's the kind of thing. that's a famous last words kind of moment. But I think he's doing an excellent job.
Yeah.
And I think, and he's still really hot.
It's kind of the same thing for me, that I was coming in thinking it's not the right time for him to lose the belt. They've gotten him here. But this is a great chance to show off what these other 3 guys can do.
And they did.
Oh, by God, they did.
Man.
Yeah, that whole thing. Darby Allin's entrance was also kind of interesting. Just
he had a mini movie this time.
Because he always has his little, like, here's what Darby Allin did today before the match. And, it's usually like him jumping over
Legally, he
cars
shouldn't have filmed this, but here we go.
Just beating the... Okay, this is another case
I
where
missed
I stepped
the
out.
first part.
Yeah.
I missed it too.
Who was he attacking?
I don't know.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
I came back in at that exact moment, and that he was telling the Elvis impersonator preacher, the wedding officiant, that he was going to have to help him bury a body.
Darby Allin arrested, I'm assuming?
Yeah. It's cute. It's cute. It was a fun little segment.
Yeah, shoot, I don't have that, but
that culminated in.
Yeah, he gets to the ring, and not only did he accept the help of that nice Elvis chaplain, he accepted a jumpsuit.
His
from
jumpsuit,
him,
yeah, he's coming out in an Elvis jumpsuit
with the Darby painting all down the left side.
Is a fun little touch because even though he's got the paint on and everything, he's usually a pretty dark and brooding kind of guy. So the extra touch of him coming out in the Elvis jumpsuit is great.
That was amazing. Just. Let's see. Oh, but of course, not to be outdone for MJF. Once the other 3 guys are in the ring, the lights go out.
Yeah. And
we start to hear I think it was an orchestral version of his theme. Mm-hmm. And when they come back on, he is on a throne in his devil mask and yellow robe.
A throne / litter, yeah.
Being lowered down to the center of the stage. Just in full like super villain mode. And it
really is.
I am so happy that mask was not just like a thing to preserve his return back at All Out, that it's actually become just a thing that he wears to his defenses, because it's such a cool design. And for all that he is just like the weasel's weasel and how he defends it, it's a pretty awesome piece of presentation. So let's see. Yeah, so and of course, in the middle of all of this drama, the music, the lights, you get just the only sound coming through is Tony Schiavone with a pitch perfect. Oh my God!
Yeah, that was great.
Just disgusted.
Oh,
This
that
guy.
give Tony a bonus because that was just it was just the exact perfect moment.
So as he gets into the ring, I admit one thing that I was kind of curious about was as they were building up to this for a couple of weeks, as you had all three of these guys lining up to say they wanted their shot at MJF, Sammy had kind of aligned with MJF and was indicating that he would take a payday to lie down and just let MJF pin him, and then he'd get a rematch somewhere down the road. And that changed when they Jungle Boy and Darby had a tag match, which they won to make it the four-way that ended up happening. And at that point, Sammy kind of switched back into, no, I want my shot of the title. I'm going to get it. I'm going to fight just as hard as these guys will. And part of me was kind of wondering if there was going to be a turn waiting, that if as soon as the match started, you'd see Sammy like try to knock the other two out and lie down, and then the story would be Jungle Boy and Darby trying to keep it going to get the pin.
I think based on all of that, but what I think they're going for was MJF was trying to manipulate the guy he knew could be manipulated the most because he knew he'd been running with Jericho.
Yeah.
So he knew it was like, oh, he could just probably play to this enough that he could get Sammy to do his more of his dirty work.
And I will say, like, the way they ended up using that during the match, I think ended up being a nice spot. So
a nice. I was like, I knew it was coming because I was like, there's no way it's this simple. But it's just it was great. Yes, yeah. It was an excellent moment.
Unlike some people, when MJF grabs a microphone mid-match, you're actually excited to see what's about to happen. But yeah, so the match is a lot of fun. As soon as the bell rings, MJF just rolls out of the ring and has to get like dragged in by the others. So a big chunk of it is like anytime he's in the ring, the other guys are all teaming up to beat the crap out of him.
Basically, yes.
They only kind of turn on each other when he's out of the way.
Oh yeah, when late in the match when he's beaten down enough. Darby Allin, I was like, there were so many great spots. Darby Allin had this absolutely phenomenal spot where I think it was MJF and Jungle Boy that he had against the railing. It's like they get knocked out again. They get knocked.
Oh yeah, they're against the barricade outside.
He goes off to the opposite barricade, does this absolutely mad dash into them, and clotheslines them into the audience.
His run on that, it's like his arms are held straight out in front of him, and they're kind of, it's like Kermit the Frog.
His arms
running.
were stiff. Like when you see someone like doing like a robot dance, that's how he was moving his arms, because it was, I guess he was trying to show off, I'm super focused on hitting these two. And going by the way he hit them, that worked for him. Can't argue with the physics. I know Dogs and I were talking about this during the show. It's just Dogs, he's a friend of the show.
Whatever happened to that guy?
Don't know.
He's dead to us.
But yeah.
Just kidding, Dogs. I'll see you after the recording of this is over.
What I really enjoy, the thing we were talking about, the great thing about Darby Allin is like even amongst these guys, he's kind of on the smallish side. But he uses every bit of his weight to slam himself into people and use his body as like a weapon, just a blunt weapon to just beat people down with.
Yeah, there's something in the suspension of disbelief that goes into wrestling where you kind of discount size for a lot of people. If somebody's not like a giant like Andre or Big Show or Khali or whatever, somebody can be like 6'7", 6'8", and built like a tank, and you can still believe that somebody who's like 5'8" can hit them and do damage.
Yeah, his name is Spike Dudley.
There you go. Or Rey Mysterio.
Mysterio, yeah.
But Darby does this thing where it's like you don't forget how much he's outmatched in size, and he uses that. Like, he doesn't ask you to forget. He's like, I'm going to hit them so hard that you'll believe I'm staggering them.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you elaborated on Darby's run, because I wasn't there for this match, so in my head when you just started describing this moment, I pictured him doing a Naruto run.
Yeah, no, it kind of was, except he just didn't let his arms fly back. It really was. It was almost. It looked like the T-1000 chasing someone down for a brief second, because it was just such stiff-armed arms up in front of him. It was. It was. I will not forget it.
No, this was another one where I just found myself like writing down like moment after moment, even if I know I can't just list them all here.
I didn't think about it until someone pointed it out, but they all took turns giving their mentors finishers to each other.
So it's Darby does a Scorpion Death Drop, and then Sammy does a Code Breaker.
Yep.
Jungle Boy hits a kill switch, and then MJF comes in, takes an extra moment to just kind of smirk to the hard cam and does a crossroads.
Yep.
Yeah, that just so
a point
many.
where even if they don't like their mentors anymore, it's a sign that they've learned from them.
Yeah, and just oh my gosh, that was so many suicidas and like top rope dives in this one. Like I don't think did anybody like climb out of the ring at any point. I feel like you either got thrown or threw yourself out if you
aside from MJF. I don't think so.
Yeah. But there was there's a clip on Twitter of somebody just isolating the moments where MJF is shouting during this match, and they're just great little bits like the spot where like all the other three guys are all in the up in the corner, and like Jungle Boy pulls himself up to do a German to Darby, who's got Sammy in a suplex position.
Yes.
And as MJF's walking towards them and he sees Darby and Sammy flying at him, he just goes, wait! And then they just knock him over.
That's what I was going to elaborate on earlier at this point. It was just like MJF's entire attitude during his matches, especially for the title so far, is great because he walks in with the swagger of I'm the greatest motherfucker on the planet. In the middle of the match, when he realizes, oh shit, there's a chance I can lose, he immediately switches gears between taunting people and then being like, oh God, no.
Yeah. Just his absolute, like, this is not going according to plan.
It's like, the absolute switches between I am going to kill you and I am in absolute terror of what's happening right now.
Yeah, and it's somehow
and panicking.
All works.
Yeah, and then when he wins, it's right back into just as planned. Fuck you all.
Yeah. That's when the strut comes back.
Yeah, and it's so great because he is such a swaggering chicken shit heel, and he embodies it. And it's just, you believe it at every step. You believe him when he thinks he's the man, and you believe him when he realizes, oh God, please no.
Yeah. And you believe him when he grabs a microphone and tells Sammy, you've got a kid. You need the money. Just lie down. And Sammy does. And then immediately rolls him into a schoolboy when he goes for the pin.
Just cradles him. And MJF had this look of absolute, it was just like, I can't believe you do that.
How could you?
Why would you trick me like this?
Oh, and that sets up that great bit where after, because Sammy eventually gets him in a Boston Crab.
Yes.
And
the double submission.
Yeah, and then when Jungle Boy tries to break it up, Darby gets him in a leg lock. It's sort of like no, not if you tap first.
And MJF and Jungle Boy reach out and grab for each other.
It's that. No, it's because MJF is about to tap, and Jungle Boy rolls over and catches his arm to be like, I can't get out of my hold, but I'm not letting you go.
Don't you dare. I'm winning that title.
And then somehow I couldn't describe this even if I had the video in front of me, but all four of them wind up in like a knot of submissions.
Yes, they each apply a hold to each other.
We're going to be on a very interesting list of people who search for knot of submissions and on the podcasts.
Now it's usually a Japanese spot that they'll do when they have multiple man matches where they will latch onto each other in some way like that. I've seen one where it's a chain of people who have arm barred each other.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
Not arm bar, but arm wrist lock or like.
Okay, like the roll. Okay, yeah.
Or they each twist, and then the next person grabs the other person's arm and twists it, and then they all and then the guy in the end will wrench it, and then it just torques every arm in length. It's just stuff like that. It's just like it's an impressive comedy spot at a time where you don't think it would work, but it absolutely does.
This match really was just full of those moments.
Mm-hmm.
Like you never got the sense that anybody was goofing around, but it came up organically just from the ridiculousness of the combinations that were going on. This
is a match where someone's like, "Why do you love wrestling?" It's like, this is a match to show people.
Yeah, and just a reminder that like, it doesn't just have to be guys who look like The Rock or like Hulk Hogan power slamming each other. Like that can happen and that can be great.
Yeah.
But you can also get something like this, that it's just, and while I get the criticisms people have for like the spot heavy, like if you get it right, if you pace it well and you let the spots build on each other, that it's not just like something insane happens but only a 2 count. If you let it be something like, oh, it's a huge move, but somebody else breaks it up. Like if you keep it.
And there was plenty of that in the match.
There really was no point where all the 2 counts to me on this felt earned, or somebody was there to break it up.
And you're right. This was, I mean, generally a chaotic match, but it flowed so well between all of them. They had such a good chemistry that I was watching the whole time, and it was just like it was up in the air to me, right up until MJF retained.
Yeah, and that's just, again, that isn't the happiest moment for me, where I know logically what the outcome of a match is going to be, and I'm not mad about it. It makes sense. But a part of me just wonders, and I'm like, oh my gosh, if something different happened, I wouldn't be upset about that.
No, and like like a bunch of matches, but especially like the Battle Royal is like I was like, by the end of it, I was like, I'll be fine with however this ends.
Yeah.
I was like, there's not going to be any sort of upsetting part of this.
Yeah, so let's see. Coming to the end of it, there was a great, like you mentioned, MJF's great facial expressions. When he pulled out that diamond ring, he had the greatest, like, wide-eyed, like, of course, this will get things done.
And that set off the whole section of everyone remembering, oh, right, there's no actual rules to this match. There's no DQs. We can all do this kind of thing.
Yeah, so, like, he goes out and... actually, I thought this was kind of a fun bit, because he goes for the belt, and but it gets taken out before he can use it. So Jungle Boy picks it up, and it actually mirrors what happened at the main event last year, where Hangman had the belt, thought about using it on Punk, decided not to, and ended up losing.
Right.
And even though here there's no legal reason Jungle Boy can't use the belt, like you said, it's
too good a man to win that way.
He's got, his hair is too good for that kind of chicanery.
Which is why MJF retained.
Exactly. And so, yeah, after, but again, he does it in a very, the typically, like, clever MJF way, where Darby gets Sammy down for, Sammy's down, Darby goes up for a coffin drop, and MJF puts the belt on Sammy's chest. So when Darby goes down, he bounces off of that.
So Sammy takes a hit, Darby gets his bell rung by the belt, and he gets a pin. And he pins him the way Darby does.
He does the side headlock takeover into the pin, just for that extra spot. So
just for the extra fuck you to the fans.
Oh my gosh, yeah, this match was 27 minutes, 50 seconds long. I would have believed me if you told it was 10 minutes. It flew by.
It really did. I honestly did not believe, had a hard time believing that number when you read it out. It's like, really? It was almost a half hour? It did not feel like it.
Like, and I was looking, because there's really only one point that I would qualify as a rest spot, where like all 4 men were outside taking a second. Everything else, it was just like, if one guy's recovering, the other 3 are running around. Like, there was no point where you didn't have energy kept up. It was, that was a fantastic match. I gave that 4 3/4 stars.
Sure.
And actually, under my system, you can get 8, so it's 4.875 technically.
Ooh.
But I always round it down, because I think perfection is a goal that should be really hard to achieve. So if you get a 5 on this podcast, it will be because everything was 5s across the board.
He's tough but fair.
Yeah. And even though I admitted earlier that I sometimes just tweak these numbers as we're talking, if the conversation goes that way.
It's your system. Do what you want.
But yeah, great match. Would have been a fine main event. I understand why they left the other one be last, because man, everything.
I mean, that was pure chaos, and trying to clean up after it would have been an ordeal.
It's really hard to imagine that match working if, like, barbed wire poker chips were still scattered around, and thumbtacks in the ring and everything else. But yeah, so next up we have.
I feel like someone needs to be near the decor for the pay-per-views to chase off Jon Moxley with a broom. Because apparently, if he sees no one around, he's just gonna wrap barbed wire onto the back of it.
It's bedazzling with barbed wire.
Yeah, basically.
I feel like that's just his thing. Oh man, but yeah. So the Blackpool Combat Club: Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta against the Elite, consisting of Kenny Omega, Matt and Nick Jackson, and Hangman Adam Page. It is Anarchy in the Arena. So again, a little weird to have this on the same show as an unsanctioned match earlier. You kind of got the feeling all the really crazy stuff got saved for this one.
Yes.
To the detriment of the earlier match, but really to the benefit of this one.
See, that Adam Cole and Chris Jericho should have just been a street fight.
Yeah, just something hard. Just to acknowledge that it is a step below the insanity of what the Anarchy in the Arena match is going to be, because, that match was just, it was crazy starting to finish. And while I don't always love these matches, it can be a little bit much. in the experience, in the moment of watching them, just the constant sense of, oh, I just missed something when the camera cut away there.
I was going to say, that's really the main detriment I have for it. It's like there is a lot going on, and it's separated so that everyone can do their spots, and then it's just like there's always a chance you'll miss something.
Yeah, and you can only replay so much without causing people to miss other spots. So yeah, the Elite come in first. Everybody enters together, no separate entrances, to Carry On My Wayward Son, which is a really fun piece of music, and I'm glad that they've worked out whatever licensing they need to do to make that their regular thing. And then we have a live band playing Wild Thing for the Blackpool Combat Club's entrance. The lead, so we actually talked about this a little bit on the way over.
I looked it up, yes. It's a band called The Violent Idols, and the lead singer, he goes by V. There was a discussion about it, but his get up for performances it's black face paint. It's not like color toned. It's just pure black with a black half mask over it and a red stripe down the chin, lip and chin area.
It's a little jarring for those of us who don't know this band and hadn't seen it before, but apparently, yeah, it is just a regular style of performance.
Yes.
But yeah, they play Wild Thing live, and the Blackpool Combat Club does the entrance through the crowd.
And again, I'm pretty sure it's a nod to Moxley's music misplaying as many times as they did that previous time.
Yeah.
They sing the song about 4 times.
And it only ends when, during the match, the Bucks fight their way up to the top of the ramp and end up giving a double super kick to the lead singer. And that's what finally causes them to stop playing. And that's like you said, about 8-9 minutes into the match, maybe
something like that. It's a ways into it, because I mean, I'm impressed by it. I feel like I said at the show watching it, like Tony Khan said, don't stop until you're giving us until the signals.
What's the signal? You'll know it. But yeah, so it's what we all kind of knew this match was going to be, and meet like the Elite go charging up the stairs to attack the BCC before they can even make it all the way down there. Yeah. There's fighting. People are in the ring, around the ring. Every part of the arena is getting used. Bryan Danielson gets a spot where Hangman does like a bar slide like you'd see in a saloon fight.
Yeah.
But he puts him on the railing for the arena stairs and slides him down.
Yes, that's right.
All the way to where Nick Jackson's waiting to hit him with a garbage can.
So much stuff happened. I think it was Matt Jackson who Claudio basically abducted.
Yeah.
He giant swung. He did a giant swing on him on the concourse.
That was the scariest moment of the match for me, because it looked like a concession stand or something.
Near
it was
there,
right
yeah.
there, and
near there.
And Matt's getting swung with his head like it looks like just a couple of inches from that corner.
Before he hit the trash can, I thought he was going to hit like the condiment cart that was nearby.
Yeah. But of course, it's Claudio, so it's executed perfectly. And when he hits the trash can,
they work their way to an outside area.
There's like a pickup truck that somebody's parked. And
yep. Matt Jackson gets pile driven into it.
And then while this is all happening back in the ring, Kenny Omega has rallied because he's been, I think, double teamed by Moxley and Yuta. Picks up a trash can lid, puts it on his arm like Captain America's shield, and starts laying into people.
Yep.
So he takes out Moxley,
good.
he takes off Yuta, and then he spins, and Claudio's there and catches the trash can lid one-handed.
The Winter Soldier moment.
And it's just like, how did you know? That was like 800 feet in 45 seconds. No. I know you come from a mountaineering people, but that's not possible. But no, yeah, again, it's hard not to just keep listing like moments across there.
Who was it? Nick Jackson that Moxley had the barbed wire poker chip?
I think Kenny. Yeah, because I think
it was Kenny.
Yeah, we're just calling back to their.
They fought over near the entrance ramp. They flip over one of the poker chips for, like I said, for the decor, and there was just barbed wire, a bed of barbed wire on it.
Why? What is this doing here?
Huh? Who'd have done that?
And there's the bit where they each try to wrestle, and let's see. I think it first starts with Kenny getting suplexed onto it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then a little bit later, I think Moxley also gets thrown in.
Yep.
So they both end up taking the barbed wire.
One of the Jacksons borrows a fan's replica AEW title and smashes someone with it.
Let's see. There was Hangman. I forgot to mention he entered with an eye patch on after being attacked with a screwdriver in the weeks leading up to this, and gets the moment where he dramatically removes the eye patch.
He still has his eye.
Oh my gosh! And then extra dramatically draws a screwdriver of his own, but then gets the crap beat out of him by the 3 guys before he can do anything. Oh my gosh! Like I love Hangman generally, but like when he puts on like that super scowly, angry face at like the goofiest moments, that's one of my favorite things that he does. I'll always think of like him pulling off like the Stay Puft helmet during the
the inflatable Stay Puft costume. Pulls it off, angry face.
Another recurring thing during this match is that Don Callis comes to the announce table, and we watch this with a very energetic group of people, so it was very hard to hear anything commentary was saying. But I caught a little bit that like he would come on, and then anytime Kenny would get near the table, Callis would like retreat or like call for the others to protect him.
Yeah.
Just sort of staying around and sort of explaining why he'd betrayed Kenny.
We watch with a shouty bunch and they drink. So.
Oh yeah. Let's see. And then eventually, of course, Matt Jackson does make his way back to the ring as well.
And see, I don't think they had a way to show it beforehand, but he gets in the ring and who does he super kick?
So let's see, Moxley has Nick Jackson in like a single leg crab, and Matt comes in, sets up for a super kick. And then what happens?
He makes contact with Moxley and his shoe explodes.
Just explodes.
And I didn't see this till the replay, but you see it after the fact. Like he had like a pyro spark thing, like a pyro thing that he had put on his shoe. I don't know how they explain. I think it would have to have been purposeful because I don't think he accidentally stepped on it.
Yeah.
That he attached and he used to kick Moxley off of his brother.
I really don't know how you could like put that on, make it all the way down the ramp into the ring and set up for the move and be confident that it wasn't just going to explode.
Right.
But
you see him hit, you see it drop off his shoe in the replay. It's like, oh, okay.
And there's a part of me that kind of wants to view this as, okay, this is established lore. The Bucks, have used their special shoes before, like with thumbtacks in them or whatever. And they just should have had, like, we should have seen him tug it into place as he came down. The other part of me...
Well, he could have, and the camera could have missed it.
Always possible with something like we said, there's always this chaotic. But there's the other part of me that is just like, has the wonderment of a child that sees a man get kicked in the head and then explode. I'm so happy I had that moment of having no idea what had just happened.
Magic is real.
Just like, anything can happen in this world.
Yeah.
Somebody had a picture of right the moment of impact. And it really looks
That's
like
cool.
Moxley's head has been swallowed up. It's the craziest thing.
But again, as I recall, most of us we were actually kind of upset until I pointed out the replays. Like, look, there it is.
Yeah.
It dropped off his shoe. Okay.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was, oh my gosh. Everybody got, it's a great one of those 8-minute matches. Everybody gets their own moment. Let's see. Yeah, Claudio gets to still be kind of like the powerhouse of the Blackpool Combat Club. There was one bit where I think it wasn't when he had Nick Jackson there. It was when Moxley had Kenny. No, I want to make sure I have the right people on this. No, this actually was when he had Nick Jackson on there. And Kenny comes in and tries to break it up with a running knee, and Moxley just goes, "Oh, fuck you," is his response to being kneed in the face.
Yes, that's true. That is true.
And then I think Danielson takes out Kenny, and that's when Matt has to come in and break him off. But
those are I love those kind of moments. It doesn't necessarily have to be swearing, but just someone reacting, "Oh, come on."
Yeah. Really? Oh,
we're doing knees now, huh? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, man. Then considering how these Stadium Stampede, Anarchy, and the Arena matches tend to go over the place, most of it really was around the ring and the entrance ramp, which I was okay with because it kept it really as just it was almost always 3-on-1 or 4-on-2. You didn't have a lot of 1-on-1, everybody goes off and has their segment matches, which, again, since the whole story of this is it's the group against the group, I'm fine with that. And of course the tacks come out. Always gonna have.
I was trying to get there. It's like, yes, of course. They left John Moxley unattended too long. He got bored and he found the thumbtacks.
But just before this, Claudio punted the shoe that Matt Jackson used into the crowd,
which was the setup because then they took Matt Jackson and his bare foot and drove it onto the thumbtacks.
Yep. And he gets I've seen people get power bombed onto them, or or slammed, or miss a swanton onto it or whatever. Yeah, just seeing a man get his bare foot slammed down on that pile of tacks.
And then they one-upped it by putting them in his mouth and European uppercutting him. Like, I know, it's like, again, I know it's a safe enough thing because the whole thing is like he's just going to get hit so he can spew him into the air.
But man,
it's not fun to think about.
No, like just one goes a little too far down the wrong corridor, and oof.
There's a moment of real life logic in my head where it's like, once they stuff him in, why don't you just spit immediately?
Because wrestling.
Yeah, I know.
They're holding him by the arm so his mouth doesn't work.
Right, of course. Excuse me.
Let's see, and then you have a great moment where because Hangman's kind of come back and been kind of closer with the Bucks through most of this story. He and Kenny, it still feels like there's some bad blood from their feud.
Yeah, their tag team Hulk up moment.
Yeah, and there's a moment where they're face to face and they're surrounded by the rest of the Blackpool. I'm just going to say the Blackpool, and they just kind of like look at each other and give kind of the weary nod and just power back to their feet and just turn back to back and fight.
Yep.
And then just actually do pretty well for themselves and almost get out ahead, but Yuta comes back in. I actually really appreciated that. Well, not to jump right to the end, but so it comes down to Callis eventually does come into the ring. Don Callis, I think he gets a fork to Wheeler Yuta, but Kenny's able to reverse it. Grabs the fork himself and turns to Callis. Which I don't know if they showed this on the package, but that was how Callis turned on him during his cage match with Moxley. It was Callis.
I think
jabbed
they did.
him in the forehead.
I think so. Yeah.
But then before Kenny can take out Don Callis, a mysterious figure rushes into the ring. Unfortunately, I don't know what covering he was supposed to have over the top of his head, but it had fallen off, so a luxurious mane of hair gave a little bit away. But yeah,
plus, I think a lot of people were predicting this anyway.
That he was going to show up in one, especially after he wasn't in the Casino Battle Royal or the Blackjack Battle Royal. But yeah, we see Konosuke Takeshita charge the ring and take out Kenny and officially ally himself with Don Callis and possibly the Blackpool Combat Club. Not really clear if that's all one group now or if that's just a temporary alliance.
I don't know. I kind of forgot everything when he gave that sultry look to the hard camera.
Yeah, no, that's steamy look. The internet is in love with that guy to a somewhat creepy degree. Like when he signed with AEW and moved to the States, he was doing a couple of like jokey tweets about like, oh, I got my apartment, but I've never slept without a nightlight before. Just like kind of goofy, like, oh, I'm alone in a new country. It's scary. And people got really creepily intense in their responses. Like, okay, he's an adult man. He's joking. You don't need to actually like send him.
Besides,
like,
you don't have a chance. His heart belongs to Cinnabon.
Oh my gosh,
I've seen the tweets.
But yeah, so let's see. Yuta then slams Kenny onto the tacks and pins him for the 3 count.
A very nice moment for Yuta.
Yeah, which I appreciate because there was always the risk that when you've got 3 guys who are so established in the faction, then Yuta, the up-and-comer, it's like, oh, he's the guy who's always going to eat the pin or tap out or do whatever. So that he gets the pin, and he gets the pin on Kenny Omega.
Kenny Omega, yep.
Is a great boost for Yuta.
It is. It's a good vote of confidence for him.
And, I mean, I think it's been, like, his whole run into the Blackpool Combat Club and since has been just kind of a mark of just how much everybody involved thinks this guy has to offer. And honestly, that's part of the reason that I think Takeshita might be aligned with him in the long term, because I think a lot of the guys have also said how much they admire and how much they think he's got ahead of him on his in his American run. But yeah, so I think a lot of us were kind of wondering, are we going to see somebody else arrive?
Nope.
Maybe a certain someone whose appearance on an upcoming AEW show has been teased, or maybe somebody that Kenny had worked with in Japan to set up Forbidden Door. But nope, we're just going to see Wild Thing. I guess they reset the jaw of the lead singer, and he got back up, and they started playing again. And, celebrate in the ring as the show
he was
comes
wearing
to
that
close.
mask. He was fairly protected.
Oh, yeah, that probably absorbed most of it.
You're welcome.
And Matt hadn't had time to put his exploding shoes on yet, so... Yeah, so that is the end of our show, and overall it was a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I just realized I don't think... give me a moment. I've got to check my average for the show here.
I think it was probably one of the better ones I've seen. out of all things considered. There wasn't really a moment where I completely tuned out. Even on the best of shows, there's always those kind of moments sometimes.
Yeah, I think there were a few matches that slumped a little bit, but
Sure.
there was nothing. Even the ones that kind of, I don't want to be that guy who says that the women's matches for AEW were the weakest, because it's one of those things that's become such conventional wisdom that I become annoyed by it, and I just kind of want to defend.
That was a previous host gimmick.
Yeah. But in this case, I think in one case you had the inability to really build a full match with Statlander, and in the other,
Right.
Hayter working injured. So outside explanation, but I do think you did suffer a little bit of energy, but this show opened incredibly. The double main event, which I still can't say without almost retching, but really was two of the best matches I've seen this year. Overall, this show gets 3 3/4. 3 3/4 out of 5 exploding sneakers from me.
Yeah.
All right, so that is double or nothing. So, Chris, I know that you said you don't really follow the weekly programming on AEW,
No.
but do you have any thoughts on Collision coming out?
I'm sure it'll be neat.
Yeah. I wonder if he's regretting picking a title that conjures images of like great forces slamming into each other with horrific results.
I just want this to happen so we can all move on.
Yeah, it really would just make this part of wrestling boring again, please.
He's here now, so shut up about it.
Yeah, so let's see. We've got Collision coming up, and then they've got Forbidden Door, I think, at the end of June, and then the next official all-out show is All In August.
And then the next WWE pay-per-view is on July 1st, Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank. Man. You got any picks for that one? Not to jump. I don't think they've actually settled who the competitors are going to be this far out, but
No, I don't care.
yeah. I'm rooting for LA
I'll
Knight
watch it.
just because I love every time I see that guy.
Oh, I don't think... I'll be cynical for a second. I don't think he's going to win.
Probably not. He deserves it too badly. All right, but so just going over some of the old categories, because that is something I'd like to carry over. Across this show, Chris, who did you have as a workhorse for the event?
The Pillars. I'll just say that right there.
Yeah.
The Pillars. Because, I mean, I would love to highlight different people for different reasons, but ultimately, then their match, they ruled. It's just over. They just took my breath away.
It was one of those things that it seemed so inevitable that it seemed hard it could live up to what people had built it, and yet it really was just a chance for all these guys to show what they had. I'm going to go with... Yeah, I got to give it to Orange Cassidy. That guy just continues to be
Also
like
fair.
a highlight of everything he does, and just one of the most underrated workers on the roster. And again, hard to say because he is an acclaimed guy. Everybody loves him. He gets plenty of TV time. But every time I see him work, it's just like you forget how good this guy actually is at the wrestling.
I see a lot of dislike online by various people for Orange Cassidy, but I don't get it. He's magic.
Yeah. Some people just can't accept joy in their lives. All right, David, did you, for the parts of the show that you watched with us, did you have a best actor that jumped out at you?
Well, Robert, no, I did not.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I did not watch enough of the pay-per-view to really give a definitive answer because we were having some Memorial Day celebrations the day of the pay-per-view. Katie and I got here at like 1:30 in the afternoon.
Oh, God.
So by 9:30 that night, we realized our dogs had been up a long time. But you know what? Just for the sake of it, because I never thought I'd say this, I do have a favorite wrestler. And it's Orange Cassidy, so I got to give it to him.
Sure.
Absolutely. Well, as someone who's done a little theater work with you, do you mind if I step in on the category?
Oh, absolutely. Go for it.
Okay. I'm going to have to say best actor goes to MJF. I mean,
Sure.
again, conventional wisdom, but just the storytelling that guy does just with every part, with faces. I think my favorite is he finds a spot in every match where he'll do a move that hurts a lot more than he was expecting it to, and he will just have this shriek of both pain and surprise.
Yes, he doesn't try to tough guy it. He
yeah.
just screams. He just screams in pain.
Flailing around, howling in agony, and holding like his knee or his back or whatever.
Because he knows the audience loves to hear that.
I guess, yeah, his pain is what they pay for.
Praising MJF, you really are settling into the role of your predecessor. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, but this is genuine and measured instead of what the other guy did.
I broke out my impression of him last time to defend some heel psychology, and just from the daggers that both Gina and Shelby were
dirty,
getting
didn't
me
it?
at the time. I was just sort of like, I can't make this a thing. This isn't me, man. This isn't me. All right, Chris, did you have a best dressed?
Sanjay Dutt.
Okay. Oh, yeah, we didn't even mention. We talked about the pencils. We didn't talk about his jacket.
His jacket stole the show because it was a white suit jacket. There were pencils on both sleeves. And on the back was a nice stylized drawing that looked like a watercolor painting, or just a painting of him and Jarrett and Lethal with a Briscoe on the farm. There's other good things. The Jericho Appreciation Society in there. There's suit jackets.
Yeah.
The sleeveless shirt jackets.
It was actually kind of tame by their standards.
True.
But
well coordinated.
It was. And it was black and gold, which I was wondering if that was a little bit of a poke to the Undisputed Era.
Could be. But yeah, those are pretty strong overall.
Nice. All right. Well, let's see. I think that may just about wrap us up. David, do you have anything you'd like to inform the listeners about?
Well, congratulations on your first episode as host. You came in at over 2 hours. I'm mad at you. Let's not do that again. But otherwise, well done. Chris, are you ready to get back to Long Walk Talk soon?
Are we going to do it?
Well, yeah. I kind of feel like with Shelby about to, give birth one of these days, and this show happening like once a month, we're going to be down to one podcast soon if we don't.
What will you do with yourself?
I know. What my free time. Oh, I miss free time. Yes, Long Walk Talks will be returning in June.
If you're continuing your theme of controversies, I could offer my opinions on some Supreme Court cases recently to give you all something to...
That's a hard no.
Okay.
I don't like bringing real life into my...
Don't worry. If it's still my turn, I've got the one that's going to make him and Stan angriest.
I can't wait for that then.
Rise of Skywalker is the qualified immunity of the Star Wars films. Let me tell...
Well, this has been a really nice run as host for you, Robert. We got to go down and talk to dogs now. But yeah, so we got a whole lot of wrestling this week. Thursday night, I'll be recording... this is a takeover for Shelby and Gina, where they're going to talk about Night of Champions for WWE.
Yes.
And then Friday night, the two of them will be doing a solo episode without me here as producer, where they talk about whatever the NXT pay-per-view was. So
that's right, they had one of those.
Yeah.
So once again, we find ourselves in a week with 3 wrestling pay-per-views, but I only have to produce 2 of them, which is nice for me because Shelby's taken over some of those duties.
Yeah, we forget about NXT. We might take our eyes off the ball, but Shawn Michaels never does, as long as it's located 3 feet up the wall to his right.
He's keeping his eye on at least 2.
So yeah, that's it for us. We've got 2 more wrestling podcasts coming out this week, and then Long Walk Talks coming back soon.
All right, well, thank you all very much for listening. I've been Robert Brafford. He's been Chris Barnes, and we will see y'all next time.
I mean, I still am, but I have been too.
Don't break out the grammar tenses on me, man.